Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the Nikki Schumacher podcast. I have the great fortune to interview my friend Sara Brady today.
Hi, welcome. Everyone. Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I always do that. I didn't turn my phone on silent. So before we get started, I just want to tell people a little bit about who you are. I actually know Sara, and you don't remember how we met. Is that right?
No, but the last year has been a whirlwind.
Yes,
so
yes.
Honestly,
So when I was 36 weeks pregnant with my daughter, I was going into preterm labor.
Okay.
And you reached out to me on Facebook and gave me tips.
For
home birth.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was going into preterm labor, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go to the hospital.
Yeah, and I've had 2 unassisted births.
Yeah.
I've helped a few moms. Okay, so this is ringing a bell a little bit.
I ended up being able to stop my labor, and thanks to lots of tips, but that is how I first met you.
Wow.
Just completely not political, just mom to mom. And then I ended up having an accidental unassisted birth. So it was like a God thing that I had talked to this woman who had done that. Yeah.
And I'm assuming I was encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, totally.
It's like, you can do this. You got this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, whatever that means to you.
Yeah. So like you said, my name's Sara Brady, and I'm just, honestly, we'll just cut to the chase. I'm best known as Park Mom.
Mm-hmm.
I was arrested almost a year ago, April 21st of 2020, at the beginning of the shutdown, for taking my kids to a play date. It was not planned. The play date was planned, but when I had gotten there, people had taken tape off of the playground, mm-hmm. and lots of kids were playing, and I just naturally did what we had done pre-shutdown and let my kids play too. Yeah, but that's how I'm best known. But
can you believe it's been a year, almost a year?
Honestly,
2 weeks to flatten the wood chips.
Yeah. What are we at? Yeah, 2 weeks to flatten the wood chips. Yeah, that's about what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in Declo, Idaho, mm-hmm. and my grandparents were farmers. I was unschooled. I have a very interesting childhood, mm-hmm. and I'm to a police officer. I have 4 children. And I've been pretty heavily involved in politics about the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. As a concerned citizen, or?
A concerned parent, honestly, because just watching how things are mm-hmm. changing and what kind of world that will look like to my children. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get involved to best do my part in making sure they have freedom mm-hmm. when I move on.
So you guys, one thing that you can do to help me and Sara out right now is to like and share the video and subscribe. That really supports the algorithm, and that does not cost a thing, but it really, really makes a difference. I'm gonna let Sara share some more about her story, but I want you guys to know that if you feel led in your heart to support Sara, there is a website to her, a link to her website in the description box below. Also, I have enabled super chats, so if you want to,
You say the name.
The name of the website. You can speak aloud. You're here. You don't have to pretend like you're not. The name of the website is supportsarabrady.com. Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow.
And that's without an H.
No H.
No
okay.
H. Sara
no H. Also, I do believe I have super chats enabled, so if you want to make sure that your comment is read, all of the super chats from tonight will go to Sara. We will be opening it up for questions at the end, I do believe. So go ahead and send those in, and my team will get those to me. So don't you think it's interesting how they have let criminals out?
And and to make room for moms to go to jail. I mean, I do find it interesting because mm-hmm. right around the same time I was arrested, they were letting out Ada mm-hmm. County inmates. I think they'd let out up to 400.
Wow.
And so
that's upside down.
So as most people have seen the video, there's no reason to really go over the video that day.
Well, I do think people are naive about how something can be spun, even if you can see a few minutes of a video.
Oh,
even the minutes beyond on either side.
And prior, and the way the media tries to spin it. Yeah, so I'll just tell you the story from how it
clear it up. Yeah,
I'm going to tell you how I experienced it.
Yes, clear it up.
So, well, when the shutdown happened, I actually decided that I was going to leave politics, and we were going to move to somewhere more rural. And I got invited to this play date, and the day of this play date, which I'd kind of forgotten about, I was actually painting the front door of my home to get it ready to sell. And I come inside and sat down all sweaty on the couch, and I flipped open my laptop, and somebody at the play date, which I'd kind of forgotten about, was live streaming, and all these kids were playing on the playground, and people were like, "We're at the play date," and I just, I looked out my back window. And it had been a really, really rough 6 weeks with my kids. I have a special needs kid, and it was really rough. And I just was like, our kids, we're going to go to the play date. And so, we hopped in the car. We're about 45 minutes late to it because, again, I've forgotten about it, And that's, I think, funny where the media was like, this is a planned protest. And I'm like, not on my part, it wasn't. I mean, if I had planned a protest, we would have had matching shirts and done all kinds of fun things. This wasn't planned. So, I had gotten there and told my kids go and play, and sat down on the grass or a blanket next to some friends. And probably about 3 minutes later, 3 officers show up, and I'm thinking, really, like, what are you guys doing here? And being married to an officer, I'm thinking, you should not be coming, So this one officer, who in particular I believe was a little bit irritable, was just, waving his hands and telling, get off the playground. And I was a little bit embarrassed, because that was not what I thought was a good representation of law enforcement in front of children, in front of moms who'd been cooped up in their house with kids. Not to mention, this is a piece of public property that I also pay taxes on. So anyway, I'd asked my kids to get off the playground, and at some point he'd come over and said, everybody get off. And I said, well, I'd asked some question. I can't remember now. It's almost been a year. And he was like, I told you, it's closed. And I was like, okay, you don't have to talk to me like that. So he had kind of walked away, and I asked some friends to keep an eye on my kids. And, everyone's kind of seen the video where there was 3 officers that day, and he was the one who was probably the most irritable. The other ones were just kind of chill, saying, hey, we're sorry, it's closed. But we were asking, well, why is it closed when you could go to Walmart? And, we pay taxes on this property. What about our right to peaceably assemble? And then questions about, and eventually it got to the point where, he kept telling people to get off, and nobody was really getting off. And as far as I knew, the park was open, including the wood chips, not the playground equipment.
Right.
So I was not standing anywhere that would prevent them from wrapping the playground equipment back up with their caution tape.
Right.
Like it's a crime scene. So at the point when the officer, for whatever reason, I don't know why he was really upset with me, because I was upset. Because at this point now I get to go home with kids. We get to go be locked up. We're going to, like, my kids can't just, there's a reason you have playground equipment. It's to get extra energy. I mean, it helps your kids have extra exercise.
Yeah. And can I interject one thing?
Yeah.
If you were talking about your husband speaking to you this way,
I can imagine my husband speaking to another mom who taking her kids to a playground, closed or not.
That's what I'm saying. The brainwashing that, an officer can speak to a person in any way that they want to, and that's just how it is. But, like, if you had a spouse speak to you that way, they would be called abusive. If you had a minister of your church talk to you that way, they would be called abusive. And to just expect this, like, just blind obedience to just someone because they're wearing a certain color.
Well, and I would imagine, so, to be fair to law enforcement everywhere, all of a sudden, all of these law enforcement officers are being put in positions where they're enforcing tyrannical shutdowns. They're literally having to enforce this on good citizens. So officers are normally called to situations on true criminals, rapes, murders, pedophiles, burglaries. I mean, like, the list goes on, right? We know what a true crime is, right? And so,
that's the mode they're in.
Right, and that's the mode they're in. So I can see from his point of view that in his mind, I'm breaking the law, and it's very black and white. I told you to leave. You need to leave. Fine, you're not going to leave. Here, at that point he starts counting down to me, and I was so offended because there was just a moment there. I just, you're comparing, my husband's for 10 years of his career investigated pedophiles. And I at never any point in my life have considered myself a danger or threat to society, to the point where an officer is basically demanding I do something or I'm going to be arrested. And so at that point I was just like, fine, go ahead and do it. Arrest me for being in the park. It was something along those lines. And I turned around, I was like, take me.
I'm not speaking for Sarah, I'm speaking for myself. That is cruel and unusual punishment. When I get pulled over for speeding, they're not like, get in, I'm arresting you. There is an order to things, and there is a difference between pedophilia and speeding. Speeding actually kills a lot more people than moms standing on wood chips. Statistically.
I would just feel like 100% more, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so the logic, there has been some serious, I don't want to say brainwashing, but I want to say brainwashing. This is just like, the thought process is just not even making sense to me.
What I've always asked is, people compare me to Rosa Parks, which obviously different situations for sitting or standing for your principles or something you believe in. But then when is it okay culturally for you to stand up against authority?
Yeah.
If it's okay on a bus, but not okay on wood chips with your kids, like, I guess I just need to get the rules down straight because I don't know. I feel like at a playground with my kids on a, I just felt like the whole interaction could have gone a lot better if you'd had empathetic cops who had instead of escalated, and also not counting down to someone who was not even standing in. So I wasn't even swinging on the swing set. I never even touched the playground equipment. It's not like I was preventing him from rewrapping up the playground equipment and re-securing the area. There was no, there was no need for that. It's not like I was someone with a gun. It
was overkill.
It was overkill. There was no need to interact like that. But again, then that's why I go back to I have the sympathy for all these law enforcement officers who are put in this position of having to choose between, do I make the mayor happy or, and so I think it gets.
So I'm speaking for myself here. It's a small valley we live in. Most, I know quite a few of those officers, and most all of them didn't agree with what the one did. So I'm speaking for myself, just speaking for myself.
Right. No names are given.
No names or anything. But I've spoken to more than several, and they were upset. They didn't like the position that they were being put in.
And it's a bad position, honestly. And if I could go back to that day, I wish I would have taken a nap beforehand and known that it was a multi-viral video and that, millions of people were watching. I had no clue. I had literally no clue. If you'd seen my hair and my makeup that day, clearly I was not planning a protest at a park. I would have at least done my hair and makeup for the mugshot. Yeah. So anyway, so he hauls me off the wood chips. He arrests me, and I had called out the name of a political organization that I was familiar with here in Idaho that I knew. So no one at the park really had my husband's phone number as far as I was aware. Later I figured out they did because I called home from someone's phone. But I didn't know that they did, so I said, I didn't want to call out my husband's name, so I called out the name of an organization on the chance that, videos once they're out there, so I didn't want to say my husband's name necessarily in public. Now people know his name, but then we had a pretty private life. So I mentioned the Idaho Freedom Foundation. I said, get them on the phone. I let them know what's happening, because they knew who I was, and I knew that at least they could make some phone calls. We could make some phone calls, and maybe someone could bail me out. Spread the news to my husband. So yeah, anyway, I got hauled off to jail. I was charged with trespassing, and it's a misdemeanor, which carries a fine of up to 6 months in jail and up to $1,000 fine. And what ended up happening is the state of Idaho actually is now prosecuting the case, and months now.
What a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Especially when people are losing. Have been losing their jobs.
People are fighting
what's happened the last year.
People are fighting to buy groceries.
Right, but you got to take Sara Brady to court. You got to teach her a lesson. So I'm not going to plead guilty. I didn't do anything wrong that day.
Right, And that's why we're here tonight. I just want you guys to support Sarah if you feel led. And also, we're going to talk about shirts.
Oh yeah, if we could. So, you guys, I don't know if anybody watched the.
I think a lot of people did.
Okay, so I had another court case today, and sadly, the lawyer that's been on my case has had some health issues and has. Basically, is going to have to pull himself off the case. I have to find a new lawyer, and I hate asking for money, but here's the deal. I kind of feel like
well, selling shirts is not asking for money, really.
No, you're right, and that's what I'm trying to say. Is I don't want. I'm trying to earn money for my legal fees, and so I found these beautiful blouses, and I put the "Don't Tread on Me."
That is cool.
On it, and so if it's with shipping, it's $47. If it's without, it's $40. And you can either get to Nikki or you can find me on Facebook and private message me. I think you can go through my website and actually email me. But if you want to buy a shirt, you want to be like me, maybe we can wear these and be matchy-matchy.
That's cool. That is really cool. You know, and we can link the information to find those.
I'm just not a huge t-shirt person.
I'm not a t-shirt person.
This is like fancy. When you go to your capital and you go to testify and you're looking at your state legislator or your assemblyman and you're like just wearing your shirt that says "Don't Tread on Me" with your black skirt, your black high heels.
I love it.
Sorry, I love fashion. Before I got into politics, I love fashion. So
I love it. And so yeah, you guys can contact me to get a hold of those. And if there's like a website or something, I can put it down.
I'm sorry, I don't sell them on the website. Literally, I'm not that advanced.
But people can find you on Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Although I have a lot of the left following me on Twitter. I just don't think anybody else has found me on Twitter, which is fine. I'm not on
I think most of the right are done with Twitter.
Is that what's happened?
It seems like
a lot of people are done. I think a lot of the right.
It's just like a dumpster fire. They've kicked so many off.
I'm sure once they figure out I'm on there, I'll be kicked off at some point. So,
on a personal note, what gets me is the mental health. I wouldn't say that I'm a mental health expert, but I might be. I've studied mental health a lot. I was a hospice chaplain, and I'm a mother of 3, and I went through my own bed rest issues with each baby. I was on bed rest. And what I learned through reading is that one of the reasons I got so sad was because of the isolation. If you look at, let me bring the website up. I'm hearing myself now in the...
an echo?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, that's what you're trying to fix. It's like very distracting. But anyway, basically the suicide prevention website and so much peer-reviewed scientific literature states that isolation absolutely has to do with mental health. And I said it. You can go watch on my other YouTube channel. Back when this all started, I said people are going to die from the lockdowns. I said it. Lots of people said it. It's not really rocket science, but maybe it is. I don't know. And I ended up losing a mom friend. And she was a mom in our homeschool group. We lost her. And what rings through my head when I have some of my Christian friends or more conservative friends not taking your side on this is, if that mom would have been at the park that day, would they have been calling for her arrest too?
I'm sure they would have been.
Yeah.
Why would it be any different this?
Yeah. You know? And a lot of people really just don't know that isolation can lead to depression. I'm a Christian. I don't really hide that. I don't try. I wear who I am on my sleeve. I don't try to hide, like not be too preachy or whatever. In the Bible, there is a command to gather and fellowship, and there's a reason for that. We're commanded to greet each other with a holy kiss. I don't really do that. I'm more of a holy side hug.
A holy hug. I'm a hugger.
And, she didn't maybe even know why she was sad, and that maybe if she didn't obey the lockdown exactly to a T with 5 kids at home, maybe she'd still be here, you know? And the suicide attempts, if you talk to any officer, they all say they have had the craziest calls. And so that's where it is for me. It's the myopic view, myopic, just that one-sided thinking that just cannot see the whole picture in this. And I just saw another several articles coming out of Canada that they have actually instructed parents in Toronto, if your child has been exposed, not even if they have it, if they've been exposed to COVID, go ahead and quarantine them for 2 weeks in their room alone, your child. And people are saying, yeah, it's the hardest thing ever listening to my child cry. Oh, I'm so lonely. And that's what led to just not standing up back in March is what led to 5-year-olds locked in their room for 2 weeks by themselves. This is disgusting.
People are still doing this, and they're going along with it.
They're going along with it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm thankful that you've stood your ground. I wish I could do more. So that's why I invited you here tonight. And you guys, I do want to mention again, because it's awkward for Sarah to mention it, that supportsarabrady.com is down below. Also, she has shirts for sale. And just be praying for Sarah's case, that the judge would, now I'm speaking for myself here, would get a clue and dismiss this.
Well, so I think he has to have a motion. He can't act on his own.
Okay.
So a judge is supposed to be neutral in a case and literally not make action separate out of things. So, you know, so I've actually had 2 lawyers on this case. Sadly, this last one having to leave because of
health issues.
And he talked about this in the court case, which was on YouTube. So I'm not saying anything as far as I know that he didn't say publicly. But so now I'm looking for a new lawyer, and that's going to entail maybe, I don't even know, a $5,000 retainer. I have about
That's not a
3,
fair and speedy trial.
Oh, that was violated months ago.
Yeah,
that was violated months ago. I mean, yeah, they put everything off. I mean, even my agreement was put off months. Even, you know, so
thousands and thousands of dollars in lawyer bills for standing on wood chips. I have friends.
I mean, what would someone do? I mean, I'm not going to admit. I'm not going to plead guilty to doing something that is a totally normal thing for a mother to do with her kids. And it's not like I did it 6 months or 6 minutes after, you know, the parks were closed. It was a good 6 weeks. And I had a friend who ended up getting the unnamed, and I knew that it was not what it was being made out to be. And so I was not worried for my kids. And, you know, like, a lot of people don't know this, is that our Parks and Rec guy in Meridian made sure the doggy parks got to stay open. Keep in mind, you know, I've seen news articles.
So dogs have rights.
Well, and the dogs have more, they're at a higher class than my own children and my own children's mental health. Why does a dog get a higher mental health ability to go to the doggy park than my own kids? I mean, what about, I mean, and those dogs aren't paying taxes. I mean, sure, their owners are, but I mean, I'm paying taxes on a playground, right? So you tell, I want to know why, that was just, and that's the crux of what my irritation was that day. It was arbitrary. That what escalated that day was when I was pointing over at the playground, at the basketball players and the picnic tables. I was like, are you going to go and cite them now? Because if COVID is going to be spread over here, because that's supposedly the reason it's shut down, well, then let's be across the board about it. Let's shut down the picnic tables and let's shut down the basket. Like, I think you need to at least be fair across the board. So, and that's, I think, you know, I was actually getting ready to walk off the playground when the officer started counting down to me. So if he would have just actually not said anything.
Counting.
I was literally walking, I mean, I was walking away. I was going to say my last piece would be irritated to walk away. And he said the 5, you know, he started counting down to 5. And I was like, fine. Take me to jail. If this is where you're going to basically imply that I'm a criminal, well then I'll be your criminal, I guess. Take me. I'm a danger to society, and you know. So you know, a lot of people have been like, well, you could plead guilty. You know, you've made your stand, you've made your point. But I'm like, no, I'm going to finish this to the end. I will finish this to the end. And I think the state of Idaho knows that they can wear a person out financially, mentally, physically, spiritually, all of the things, emotionally. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As I've said in the beginning, I didn't do anything wrong, and I'll say it to the end. I haven't done anything wrong. So, we can continue this, state of Idaho, but I'm not going to not fight this. It's almost like being at the very end of a long race, right? I mean, I've done this for almost a year. Why would I cave now? If not anything, the fact that they've drugged me through this, how long and how many thousands of dollars I've spent.
It's ridiculous.
At this point, like, if you want to take me to court, I mean, that's fine. You can take me to court, but I don't think it's a good idea.
I pray that they'll get some sense. So is there anything else people can do to help support you?
Yeah, you guys can go and like my page. I have a page called Sara Brady, and share the post there. Not a lot of people know that I'm still fighting this. It's been hard just being a mom of 4 kids. I'm not great at social media. It took me like 10 minutes to get on Facebook Live today. I couldn't figure out how. I couldn't figure out how to get it to work on my laptop. So liking my page, sharing the post. If you want to go and let media know, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens.
I made some phone calls to the Attorney General.
Okay, great.
Can people do that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've had people call the Attorney General's office, Lawrence Watson's office, and ask for my case to be dropped. I'm trying to think of and I just want to say to all of my supporters out there, I can't say enough. People think that they have to financially support me to be supporting me, and that's really actually not the case. That is a very helpful and very important piece of this because it is very expensive. But I get messages and I get phone calls, and I can't tell you the things. There's been so many things that people have done for me. I've had friends come over and help clean my house. I'm talking to you. And other people who have, generously donated their time and effort and just, sometimes just put in a good word for me. I'll have trolls come on my page and I don't have to do anything. My friends come out and they're like, how dare you?
Yeah.
What are you doing? This mother, is standing for your children. And I think the thing is good people understand what happened that day. And I think people that are still struggling with maybe some ignorance or some,
sunshine kills viruses.
It's weird. Sunshine does, and you know what helps you fight off illnesses?
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D and fresh air and sunshine. Fresh air, sunshine, and interacting with other people, activity, exercise. So, sharing my page would be great. Liking the page. Helping me in those respects because it's just something that's really it's hard to keep up on all the
when you're a real person
show. I'm a one woman show with 4 kids, busy household, and
and if any of you have a platform, consider interviewing Sara just to help her get more exposure because like she said, a lot of people don't realize that you're actually still fighting this. It seems like it should have been over a year ago.
It should have just actually been happened. Do you think?
Absolutely.
Sure, we have an incident on a playground, and I think people should have come to a realization at that point. Do we really want to be arresting moms for taking their kids to playgrounds? Is this really what the state wants to be representative of? Is it going to be such an authoritarian state that?
That's the thing is
treat moms.
That's the thing is Idaho culture is not like that at all.
No, it's
not.
And
so they are not doing what the citizens of Idaho would typically vote for or champion. So I think we have been chatting for a while. Do we have any questions or comments? Should I read some of the comments?
Do we open it up?
Yeah. There's no questions really that have come through, but
I'll just say hi to people. Hello, Tammy. Hello, Jess. Hello, Sophia. Misty. And did you have any closing thoughts or anything else that you...
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that would come from all of this, here's the deal. If I can fight this for almost a year, you can too. And the thing is I just really want to... This is the important thing, is so if people don't know what's happening to me, it's almost like it's not happening. If you don't understand the story, if you don't, other people know. So people really need to get this story out because if you think it can't happen to you, think again. Because here I am, literally, standing on wood chips, basically arguing with an officer about how arbitrary the shutdown is, and this is a year later, thousands of dollars, I would imagine, with legal fees. I can tell you on my end, it's been thousands of dollars.
In one of the most conservative states.
And in one of literally the most conservative states. We have Californians fleeing here. Our housing market is crazy, crazy. People are literally offering upwards of $100,000, $200,000 to buy houses, cash over asking.
Yeah.
So people are fleeing here. And I just want to say that this is not representative of the whole of Idaho, but we clearly have, we have a Republican governor. The AG is Republican, but here I sit, I'm being prosecuted for standing on wood chips, which, looking back now, obviously, so that playground, which was, that I was standing in, that was closed, the equipment was closed, it reopened about 3 weeks later and has not shut down since. And I don't think
it's a coincidence
that down again, because I honestly think moms would come out in droves and reopen that park and be like, no, we're not having this again. No.
I don't think it's a coincidence that they opened it 3 weeks later.
I don't think it's a coincidence it's not shut down again.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it stayed open. And they have a sign basically that says, play at your own risk, which is how it should be.
Right.
So, that should be,
absolutely
weird. So, that would be my closing thought is I hope it inspires you, because
be brave.
You do have a couple questions.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, but be brave, because at the end of the day, I just really believe this is nothing compared to what we'll be facing in the future if we don't stand up to the little things. And that was kind of a little thing that day, honestly. It wasn't somebody trying to force vaccinate my children or put them in a cattle car. It was literally just someone,
that's not how it ever starts. They don't start at forced vaccinations.
Right. No, we start with, closures of areas, not allowing people in if you don't wear something over your face.
Yeah.
So
what people don't realize is it's very easily trackable. We don't have to look to Nazi Germany. We just can look at California and Canada. Do you want Idaho to become a place where they're like suggesting that you lock your 5-year-old in a room by himself for 2 weeks, even though he's crying?
When you get off a plane, they shuffle you to a quarantine hotel. So
this is not like some far-fetched thing. It's already happening, like a state away.
Right. When they're right.
We're basically southern Canada here in Idaho. A state away.
That bad? Well, I was going to say, I'm like, but I don't think we are policy-wise yet. Hold on.
So, Andrew, do we have some questions?
Yeah, we do. And I'm sorry, I'm not as good as it.
No, you're great.
Copying, especially, but I see you.
And
see them right
I can. And feel free to answer or not answer or change the subject.
Sure.
So, has the situation negatively affected your husband or his career?
Well, that's an interesting question. So I think that is okay. So after my arrest, I can't really say names or anything like that, but I will tell you that my husband was getting a lot of feedback that, your wife is my hero. She's amazing. High five her for me. And then I think there was the people that are also on the other side of like, well, you just follow the rules no matter what. And now that was never said to him. I don't know the long term what that's going to do, if anything. I would hope that at some point people realize, that day there comes a point when you have to stand up for what you know is right, and it was not right for an officer to be basically
put in that position.
They shouldn't be put in that position. And if they are, at the end of the day, here's the deal. Law enforcement, you are the thin blue line, and you are the difference, because we talk about thin blue line between like criminals, but the thing is you're really actually the line between tyranny and peace.
Yes.
Right? You're it. So it doesn't matter what edicts come down. It doesn't matter, because if you're the one
you have to do right and wrong.
To enforce it, we don't lose our republic. We don't lose it. So it's super important. I mean, I will be honest, that day was like such a shock to me that could even happen in America. I mean, how does that in Idaho, in little Meridian, Idaho? And I just, even to Officer Fiscus out there, listen, I don't hold any ill will towards you. I wish you wouldn't have counted down to me too. But, at the end of the day, like, I mean, maybe you wish the day could have gone better too. I don't know, but I just know that it didn't feel right what was happening at that playground. And I don't put all that blame on him. It's also the mayor. It's people who shut down that playground without even asking people. How, you know, all of our officials they weren't even, how do you get a hold of them when everything's shut down, right? They weren't even meeting with people, right? Because of thing. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see long term, but honestly, if he does suffer the effects of that day, at the end of you have to do the right thing at all, and me choosing to do that day, he's supportive of me, and he understands that if there's fallout from that, it's worth it to know that we have tried to stand up for freedom for our children, because without freedom, there is no, I mean, you don't have a life. Life is not worth living without freedom. So, you know, I think freedom for us is more important than any accolades or any promotions or any, you know, financial increase when it comes to jobs, because ultimately none of that really means anything if you're a slave.
Give me liberty or give me death.
Liberty or give me death. Right? Don't try to me.
I mean, in every bad situation that's ever happened in the world, when officers were involved, they were never ultimately allowed to use the excuse, I was just following orders. You have to know right and wrong, and you have to follow right and wrong. And, you know, Drew and I have always had a kind of a philosophy, not a philosophy, just a habit. When we saw an officer in a coffee shop, we have always purchased them a coffee card. Don't know how smart that is. In Idaho, we have many Mormons per capita, but that's what we do. They can buy a donut or something.
Yeah.
And
or hot chocolate.
And this year I've seen some things to where it's harder to do that. I still do it. I still support them. I still do that, but this time they get a sermon with it, similar to what you just said.
It's hard because
Here's a coffee card. Do the right thing. Don't just follow orders.
Because what's happening is because of situations that they've been put in, and if they don't choose the right way, when good people, truly non-criminal people, start to lose trust in law enforcement, it creates a rift, and I think that's done by design.
It's dangerous.
That's done by design. Because then you've not only got this side, the left always hating them, then the right side is now starting. Do you see what I'm saying? And they're just. It
is by design, and every wise person that's ever written a dystopian novel about it has put that in there. 1984,
right.
That Hideous Strength by C.S. Lewis, which is way better than 1984, you guys. That Hideous Strength is like a rich man's 1984 because it's written by a Christian, and there's hope. There's hope in it.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. You should read that.
1984 is pretty dark.
1984 has no God factor, God coming to save the day. And that's what we always have to remember, is that God is sovereign. And was there another question?
It's highlighted.
Yeah, how has this changed their lives?
Their lives as in my children's lives or our family's lives. Oh, that's interesting. I even get emotional thinking about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a really great question. I don't get asked questions like that a lot. So there's a pre-arrest Sarah, and there's like a post-arrest Sarah. And I experienced some pretty intense things. Death threats. I was doxxed. People threatened to come to my home. I was truly, truly, truly scared for my life. And it made me realize that when people really stand up for what they believe in, they're going to be attacked. But I went back to something that I'd gone back to when I'd started politics, and I realized that if you're not being attacked, you're probably not doing it right. And I realized that I couldn't let my voice be silenced because I was scared. Because if I let that fear silence me, the enemy had done his job, and I basically became neutralized. Right? Because if you have been silenced and you do the silencing on your own, you're basically choosing. I mean, silence is consent, right? When you see injustices happening and you're too scared to speak up, you're basically in agreement with what's happening. So it's really, really, really made me a different person.
So they have a different mom.
They have a different mom, but it's a good different mom. I mean, we're all trying to increase our ability to, at least I'm trying to increase my ability to be more loving, more understanding. but it's really made me realize what my priorities are and what's really important. And for me right now, seeing what's going on is I really have to speak about what's going on, because I think people need to see how the state is treating me, because I'm sure it's happening in other states, but especially in the state of Idaho, they need to see that doing something like this, you could be next, okay, and see how far they'll take something little like this, just simple, right? I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer. Let's just let it go already. Yeah. Is this really the hill that the state of Idaho wants to die on? But I mean,
I hope not.
The same could be said of me. Is this the hill I want to die on? Well, if me living my life is being a criminal, yeah, this is the hill I want to die on, because if that means I can't live my life in a free way, there's again, without liberty, there's no life. There's slavery. So anyway, thanks for that great question, whoever that was, because that was
Misty.
That was good. I was getting beklempt.
Rio Life Mom asks, are the other moms who were there going to be witness in the next hearing?
Okay, so yeah, someone brought up today, I think there was a misunderstanding, so I'm just going to briefly go over the hearing today if people are still on. The hearing that happened today, it was, my lawyer has to remove himself, or we have to find a new lawyer. It's a little complicated. But it was brought up in there, they were asking about witnesses, and to be clear, a lot of my witnesses that were there that day were either experienced this or saw it happen to the other moms and saw it happen to me. Bullying, harassment, death threats, CPS phone calls.
So they're scared.
So they're naturally worried. And if you're not going to be worried about that, what type of a mom are you if you're just going to blow it off? It's a concern and it should be addressed. So my lawyer and I had talked about trying to get their names somehow protected. And I don't see anything wrong with that, because you have moms who have young children.
Some are even pregnant.
Right. Some are even pregnant. And so I think there was a misunderstanding where people thought, because I saw a lot of discussion on Facebook, and I'm sorry, I can't respond to every comment, but where people were like, why are moms not supporting Sarah? Why are her witnesses? And it's not that they're not supporting me. Okay, it's not that they're not. It's just that it seemed like in that status hearing today that it was people were not willing to testify. The thing is, at the end of the day, if the courts subpoena witnesses, they subpoena witnesses. It's not a well, I don't feel like doing it, right? It doesn't really work like that. So anyway, I just want to clear that up, because people were thinking that the moms who were there were not supportive of me, and that's not true. Okay. I would say most of them, as far as I know, were. So I mean, I'm sure there's one with differing opinions. There was a lot of people that day. So yeah.
Next question from Tammy Marie. Sarah, would you consider representing yourself if enough of us can spool our resources together to help you?
I appreciate that. So, okay, so I would only if God told me to. So I really just try to go by my gut feeling. And I wish you guys could peek into what my life looks like without the court case.
There's so much that we could never know.
It's very stressful.
Yeah.
I have a pretty intense life without the COVID. Sorry, I said the C.
That's fine.
Sorry, without all of that stuff going on, and
beep.
Then I meant the case. I meant case. I didn't mean that. I meant the case. But we can
take care of that in post.
Yeah. Delete that quick. Jeez. I feel like I just said the F word on your podcast.
No, you can say the F word.
Apparently you can. No, apparently that's okay. So I honestly would not, unless I really felt inspired to do so. It's too mentally taxing for me. I don't even hardly have time to read a book when I'm using the restroom. I mean, I don't know when I would have the time to do the legal research to do that. But if something happens and I don't have a lawyer and I can't afford a lawyer, honestly, if I don't get enough funds, I will have to, because what will be my choice be? Because like I said, I'm not going to plead guilty.
I'll represent you.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, all through school, people told me I should be a lawyer. That counts as a degree, right?
I think it's going to be good enough. You know what I mean? Why do I just have a big bunch of moms represent me? I mean, literally, I think most moms are like, yeah, why would you take this mom to court? We're all going to go get our juice boxes and our cheese sticks and take our kids to the playground. Oh, by the way, speaking of the playground, April 21st, in what is that, like 6-ish weeks, 7-ish weeks, we are having a 1-year anniversary party at Kleiner Park in Meridian.
Let's
so
do it.
Look for that. Look for that on my page. Maybe you'll share it. But we're gonna have we're gonna have a play date. hopefully a legal play date.
Planned.
Meridian officers, I like you, but don't be showing up and messing up my planned play date. And it's not a protest because the park's not closed. But maybe I am protesting my court case.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So yeah, we're gonna do a mom party for like a year.
That's cool.
On the 1 year anniversary. It's a Wednesday, I think.
That's cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions? Oh yeah. Question from Misty Tarleton, and she always has great questions. Why do you think so many people don't see a problem with these mandates? Why are so many complying? Is this question for Sarah, I'm assuming, or for me?
I mean, that's such a bit. I could just go into that in so much detail, but if I could just top level it, I think it has to do with the education they have gotten from public school. Mm-hmm. In public school, you think about it, you're basically put into a box, and you're told what to do. You're expected to follow orders. There's not a lot of out of the box thinking. I actually was fortunately unschooled, actually little even homeschooling, but it's made me realize that education has completely nothing to do with how many hours you sat in a classroom. It has to do with your ability to apply information, apply knowledge. So I personally think it's the public school system. I think that's a huge problem. I mean, if you know anything about the history of Charles Merriam, and I can't think of a few of the other people, but there's a specific target on our public school systems.
They modeled it after Prussia, which was pre-Nazi Germany.
So I think a lot of people are used to, it's uncomfortable. I think that's why I made so many people mad. It was such an uncomfortable thing that I would defy authority. You should follow the rules. But I was like, do you know how many people that if they had followed the rules, like where we would be? Imagine the founders following the British rules. Yeah. We would not be America. Marx, right? I mean, we would still have segregation. That's what we would have if Rosa had chosen to follow the rules. So if everybody chooses to follow the rules, so I'm sorry, bad, crappy rules are meant to be broken. Yeah. And I broke a rule.
It's poor education.
Poor education.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. You know, and I think at some point, I mean,
I suggest reading the Tuttle Twins to get started.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the Tuttle Twins.
By Connor Boyack.
Yeah. I plan to actually write a kid's book about the playground incident.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a little, and then I'm gonna read it.
And then come back on my show.
Yeah, and I'll read it as a nighttime story. I promise I'm gonna do this. It's not gonna be, I mean, like my mom and I will just write the pictures, but I'm gonna do a playground story about the mom.
I think your kids would love that too.
Oh yeah.
Like it would be healing for them.
Yeah, so my kids today, I have to tell this little story. I don't know if there's more questions, but somebody found caution tape at our little park next to our house. It's not the same park.
Okay.
It's not the same park, but they just found like this strip of caution tape and brought it. They're like, "Look, Mom," and I was like, I should make a dress out of caution tape. Like my mind was in this like.
You were so creative.
Caution tape dress. Yeah, you never know. Maybe I'll wear it to the play date.
There you go.
1 year anniversary.
That would be cool.
Just saying.
I could see that.
A little caution tape dress.
Lady Gaga inspiration.
Or I'll wear an orange suit to represent a little jailbird, Sarah.
So I believe Drew has highlighted another comment from TK Marie. One above that?
I thought that was a question, but...
It's still a good comment.
Yeah.
I'm from California, and believe me, you do not want Idaho to turn into the same state I was born in. It was a great state 30 years ago. That's not very long ago.
Right.
It took 4 decades for it to go completely tyrannical. Okay, the next question. Is it biblically right and good to fight for freedom? Well, I believe that Christ is not the enemy of liberty. I think that is...
Author.
Yeah.
Literally, he's the epitome of releasing us from bondage. That would be literally the author of freedom. So absolutely. I mean, I can't think of any scriptures right off the top of my head to quote, but
yeah. So I mean, I'm not a pastor, and you need to read your Bible for yourself and speak with your family and stuff. But I mean, this is my show, and Sarah's my guest, so we're gonna tell you what we think. Me personally, so you think of Esther, in the Bible, and she wasn't. When she did what she did and went to the king when it was actually illegal to do so. It was illegal to go into the king's presence. Technically, she was trespassing. And by God's providence, he had the king had favor on her, but you know, she made that decision, and it wasn't that she was just fighting for her own freedom. When you refuse to fight for your own freedom, that's not the point. The point isn't about yourself. When you don't fight for your own freedom, there's someone weaker that you're not fighting for. And just take off the one-eyed thinking and just open your brain a little bit. If you fight for your rights, then the person next door who's maybe, you know, a handicapped individual, or, you know, there are people that are hard of hearing that this has been a nightmare for. The masks, it's been a total nightmare.
Hard of hearing, and I read lips a little bit, and I've really
and so I have not worn a mask one time. When I go out, I'm just like, and if I get kicked out of something, you know, I just go somewhere else. And me fighting, that's not me being selfish. That's me thinking, you know, the next person that might not be strong enough to fight, but needs it because they're hard of hearing, for example. So yes, I do think it's biblical. We are to hold back those who are going to slaughter. And when we get to heaven and we haven't done that, we've seen people going to the slaughter and we just kind of look the other way, God will know. God will, and he will let you know. He'll say, you know, I saw that you looked the other way when.
Well, let's not forget, God doesn't like lukewarm.
Yeah.
You know, doubt.
Hot or cold.
I think really we're in the time. Yeah. We're in a time where you need to, you know, we can't Netflix and chill. Sorry. Sorry.
I mean, and is there a time for me to put down my rights for certain things? Sure. Sure, there are, you know, there's things that I have preferences for that I lay aside for the good of others. Right. But this is not, you can't conflate this with that.
Right.
So everyone, please.
Questions, but I've got
TK Marie, thank you for reminding us. Everyone, please share this video for Sara, and we need to get this as public as possible. It's ridiculous that it's been a year, but it's also kind of ridiculous that it's kind of gotten buried. I think the news cycle has moved so quickly this year that a lot of people in trouble have just kind of gotten lost in the shuffle.
Well, I think part of it too, mainstream media doesn't want to talk about me.
Right?
Because
the optics aren't good.
I think it would benefit me. And so if it benefits me, why, the optics aren't good. They don't want to be like, oh, why is this mom still fighting this? I think it inspires people. I've had people message me being like, you completely inspired. I have changed people's mind. I mean, even the fact that I could change one person's mind, but I had one person that I've actually had this one person reached out to me and she said, you know, I thought you were crazy in the beginning, but then I realized you just knew the truth sooner than the rest of us. You had seen through the lies. You called it beforehand. And I had actually another woman, very sweet woman, who I have to tell you guys. So sometimes I get friend requests, and I will go back on your post, and I will see what you said about me April 21st, 2020.
There you go.
And
some people have changed their tune.
I don't spend a lot of time, but sometimes I'm like, what's
so tempting?
So I've had a few people who have, you know, I think some of them. Were probably, maybe they're just trolls, and I don't know why you would want to be friends with someone that you don't really like,
or they had a change of heart.
And that's what I'm gonna say. So this one woman, I actually called her out on it. I sent her a message and I said, yeah, so you did, you know, like she basically owned up to it and said, well, I have to be honest, like I didn't see what's happening now, and she's, you know, total change of heart. And just when I see that, I'm like, okay, you know, if people can have a change of heart, right? And
absolutely.
And I'm forgiving. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're sorry for saying bad things about me, who am I to not forgive you? I mean, so if you're truly sorry, I'm going to be forgiving. But yeah, so it's like a happy ending. You know what I mean? To have people who kind of hated you and then are like, oh, wait a second, now their eyes have been opened, right?
That's encouraging.
Scales have fallen.
I'm glad to hear that people do change their mind.
Yeah. So, I mean, even what is it, you know, the 90 and 9, even if one soul is brought to the truth, I think that's, you know, enough for me to be
all right. Well, you've had a long day, haven't you?
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
All right.
But it's good, but I ended on a good note with you.
After this, we might feed you a few snacks before you drive home safely. And thank you all for joining us tonight. Once again, like, share, subscribe. You are good. You are precious. Grace and peace.